Welcome to Help! I Have Kids. I'm your host, Pam Marshall, a mom of 5 and a pediatric occupational therapist with over 35 years experience. This podcast is designed to equip you with practical tools, insights from experts, and real-life stories. Because at the end of the day, you are the head of your child's care team. Each week, you'll hear from pediatric experts and fellow moms like you that will help build your confidence. They'll offer clarity and empower you to make informed decisions that work for your whole family. Welcome to Help! I Have Kids podcast. It's Pam Marshall, occupational therapist and mom. I'm here today for part 2 with Heather Whitis. How are you doing, Heather?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Great. In our last episode, we talked about supporting teenagers and what are red flags and what's typical and how to build a relationship with your teen. So if you haven't listened to that one, you might want to go back and hear it. But today we're focusing on what feels like a very trendy word is anxiety. At least we hear as professionals, a lot of children and teens say they're anxious or say they have anxiety and identify with that. So this is a good topic for parents to be educated on and to know what it is and how they can help and how they can support. So what exactly is anxiety?
Okay, so it's a lot of things. So unfortunately, there's no simple answer. A lot of times we think of it as I'm scared, I'm nervous, I'm afraid. And it can be those things, but it can be so much more. It can be a struggle to focus. It can come out that way. It can come out in poor task completion. Anger can be a sign of anxiety. I'm trying to think, just being an overthinker, especially
avoiding
today.
Perfectionism.
Yes. So many things can truly be anxiety. And what's interesting, especially in children and teens, is symptoms of ADHD, depression, and anxiety can all look the same.
Wow.
So it can make it a little tricky to figure out what you're dealing with. But that's, like I talked in the last podcast about connection and communication, that's where getting to know your child, or as a therapist, getting to know the child you're working with, can come in to play, because it will help you tease out, what am I looking at? Because they can look so similar.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you wear 2 hats. You are also a mom of a teenager, but you are a mental health therapist. And so you're in this unique role of helping teens at work. And,
and then
you go home and you help a teen at home. So when parents hear the word anxiety, we were talking before we started the podcast how anxiety really wasn't a word when you and I were growing up. It was more, we talked about fearful, but anxiety was sort of like, or being anxious was for like an insecure person. It wasn't something that people talked about, really, or didn't identify with. So today, when parents hear the word anxiety, what do they picture and what do they think of? What do you mostly hear from parents?
Mostly I hear a lot about nervousness, fear. I think it's become something that we think of as crippling and more long-term lasting instead of where it really can be. It can be long-term and crippling, but it's almost kind of on a spectrum of it can be mild and situational to it can be something that prevents someone from leaving their home. So there's so many things in between that.
Yeah.
That it can be. But I think fear's a big one.
The common ones, like most of us know, some people have test anxiety. They get really anxious when they have to perform like on a test.
Right.
Or anxious about something that's very demanding or a new situation. But what you're talking about too are people who experiencing it every day, all the time. And it never seems to let up.
And it's impacting their daily life and functioning.
Causing them stress. And it can cause them to have difficulty paying attention or doing schoolwork or completing things. It can look like restlessness sometimes in teens, right?
Yep.
So can anxiety look like anger or avoidance?
Absolutely. Especially, I think, in our teenagers as they are trying to figure themselves out. It feels weird to feel anxious. It feels yucky. They don't like it. They don't know what to do with it. That maturity piece has not kicked in. And so I think they do sometimes display it in anger, especially boys. Anxiety can come out as anger because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like what they think they're supposed to feel. And so it can make them angry or not knowing how to control it or what to do with it. But then avoidance can come into play of, I'm going to avoid a situation or a person or a circumstance that makes me feel this way because I don't like it. You know, so it can manifest itself in a lot of ways. And some kids even just shut down. They just kind of stop.
Yeah, just the complete shutdown.
Yep.
And so there's also physical symptoms, like some kids really experience their body experiences the anxiety. And so what does that look like?
It can be GI issues. Anxiety and GI issues go hand in hand a lot of times. One flares up the other and vice versa. And so if you can get one in check, you can help the other one to get in check. But they can have, an increased pulse and heart rate going on. They might be shaky. They might
fidgety
be
too.
Fidgety.
Don't you see those kids that are just
and they might appear
the
distracted, because they're so in their head that they're off somewhere else. And we might think they have ADHD, but they just truly are just trying to stay together. Crying is often something that we can see. Heavy breathing, change in their speech. They may sound nervous and quivery or just really breathy because that heart rate is going.
Or have a hard time facing strangers or having conversations with, I've even seen young teams have a hard time doing something that they should be able to do, like go up to a fast food restaurant and place an order or something like that. Yeah, very functional things. So why is it so common right now? Why does it seem like, we talk about it as parents, but we talk about it as professionals. It appears like every kid has anxiety and every teen has anxiety right now. So it's everywhere. Why is that?
I think the world we live in has had a huge role in that. There's something beautiful about bringing mental health awareness about, but sometimes we almost talk about it. We have a lot of people who talk about it who aren't actually experts or professionals in it. And so I think social media is flooded by people who talk mental health words, but they're not mental health people. And so I think our kids get a lot of misinformation too. But let's face it too, the world around us is hard.
It is
hard. And I think just the general day-to-day stuff our kids face with violence and peer pressure and things like that can cause that anxiety too.
And the mixed messages. I feel like because there's so much more information with their phones being right in their hands, it's almost exhausting what they must feel like.
Right. Trying to keep up.
Oh, you hear this message and then that message and this thing and that thing. And there's just a lot of pressure with all these mixed messages and all this information. So,
and they're worried they're going to do it wrong. Whatever it is, whether it's life or being a teenager or how they look socially on social media, so much pressure.
Yeah.
And I think it just causes that insecurity and that stress.
Right.
Within them.
And then we know, as an occupational therapist, I know neurologically when young children are bombarded with screens and the constant input, there's lots of studies that show the brain is actually rewired. It's like wired to be anxious.
Right.
So how do you treat that?
I think getting them help with a professional therapist, but also reducing access to those things that are stressing them out. It's amazing. I have worked with teenagers. I'm thinking of one in particular who was just in social media all the time on her phone, like attached to that phone. And she would talk about all the stress, all the pressure, all this stuff. And one day she came into session, and I loved working with her because I just got to listen and provide supports. She solved so much on her own. She did not need me to tell her what to do. She just needed someone to listen.
She figured it out.
And she came in one day and she goes, "For Lent, I'm giving up social media." And I was like, "Cool, that's great." She gave up Lent, like social media for Lent. I think I even gave it up with her because I was like, "Sure, let's do this." It was so freeing. And we talked about how freeing it was. She still does not get on social media.
That's so
And this was a few years ago.
I have seen a trend in this. So parents, it is a trend out there happening where like young college age kids are not on social media. They're choosing to not be because of they understand
The pressure.
The pressure is not good for them. I love it. I think that's great. So do you think anxiety presents differently in the different ages, or do you think it really just depends on the kid? Or
I think it probably depends on the child, the circumstances. You know, I've thought about before, has anxiety itself changed? And I'm not sure it has. I think it's our understanding has changed. The presence of it in media has changed. But I think each child truly, they're like a snowflake and they're different. And so emotional distress and stuff within them presents differently. There's no cookie cutter way to look at it.
So when parents notice their child is showing these signs of anxiety, what can they do? What should they say? What should they do? What should that look like?
I think first, just having a conversation. I'm seeing that you're struggling, or it looks like, you know, you're having a hard time. What's going on? You know, and just doing those check-ins with them, checking in on where they're at, knowing their heart and knowing when things look a little different. And then knowing too, okay, when do we get help? You know, and I think when we see that decline in daily functioning, that's when we need to get help. When grades are declining, when we're not able to do normal activities, when we see a change in overall mood, we need help.
Or like maybe a suggestion's been given, but that teen just can't follow through with it, or it's not helping. They're not able to do it. For sure. And what does it look like to validate how a teen is feeling without reinforcing fear? So sometimes we validate, oh, it seems like you're afraid to go to school today, or whatever it is, or to face this speech that you have to give, or this hard thing. You don't want to give in to fear. You want to acknowledge how they're feeling. So how does a parent navigate that?
It's a dance. I think it truly is a dance of, okay, I don't want to minimize, because if you minimize, then they don't feel heard. They don't feel seen. That's big. But, and I think it's easier to say with physical symptoms, like if a child cuts their knee, you don't want to be like, oh my gosh, this is the worst cut ever, you know, because they're going to cry more. I saw that in my own household. If I was chill, that boo-boo was nothing. You know, but with the emotions, I think it's a finer line, because you have to be careful not to brush it off. But you also have to be careful not to be like, oh, this is the worst thing ever, you know, because they take that on too. They really, even as teenagers, they watch our reactions so much more than we probably realize that they do, you know, and so it's finding that balance of, I hear you. And it sounds like you've got a lot going on right now. What can I do to help you? You know, really just letting them, not solving it, but letting them know, I see you. And I'm here.
So parents, I think you don't want to say, you'll get over it. Like, we don't want to say that. We want to validate how they're feeling, but then we want to encourage them to not be stuck in it, that there are things they can do.
Because to them, it is huge. A situation, I think back to things that I would probably go through as a teenager, and it really is nothing big. Like some of the things I can think of, but it felt huge
at the time.
And so being mindful that like we were teenagers, these things felt huge. And some things really were huge that we went through, but other things maybe just felt huge. But regardless, that's how our kids feel.
Right.
And so just being able to acknowledge, wow, this is big for you, that's important to them. Because it is big. They haven't had a full life experience to know there could be anything different.
Right. And it's not our job as parents to try to fix our kids. Right. If they're experiencing anxiety, we don't want to run things to school for them or do these extra things to try to alleviate it, as hard as that is, because you want to take it away, right, for your kid. But a lot of times that's not very effective. So what are some examples of supportive language that parents can use? You said, I think I heard you say, I'm here for you. That's a big one.
I'm sorry. Because it's not that you did anything wrong. You're just sorry that your child is struggling.
Right, that they're feeling the way they're feeling, Yeah,
and just we're going to get through this. And I think using the word we lets them know, I'm here. Our language can say, like, oh, you'll get through it. Kind of sounds like you brushed them off. But if you say, we're going to get through this. Oh, I just partnered with you. I'm walking alongside of you.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
And I think language is very important, because while you say we're in this, on the flip side, you can't say we for your child when it really is your child. You can't identify in an unhealthy way with your child. Because I've heard that before. I mean, parents tend to do this when they're new parents and their kids are really little, like, we're just having a hard day, or we're just really mad. No, we're not mad.
We're not mad.
He's mad.
But I think in the solutions, we can do it.
Yes.
But in identifying the issue, that's their issue.
Right.
But we're going to, because I'm here.
We're going to come alongside. That's good. The semantics matter of the language you're using.
And even tone. I find it sometimes within myself, whether in a therapy session or at home, I have to watch tone, because you can say the same thing to a person, whether they're an adult, a teenager, or a child, and it has different meaning based on how you say it. Oh, let's go do this. Oh, let's go do this. Like I just sent a message of, I don't want to go do that with you.
Right.
And I think our kids hear it. So if it's like, we'll get through it.
Yeah.
We're going to get through this.
They're two
totally different
things.
So it's like there's a lot of pressure on parents. We got to mind our tone in our words, but our kids hear that.
They pick up on it.
They're smart.
Yeah.
They're smart.
So anxiety doesn't really go away on its own. That kids need tools and support. They need to learn how to cope with it. And I think when they don't learn how to cope with it, I think that's when the negative stuff really starts to happen. They find things to cope with it. So talk about coping skills. What are some healthy coping skills, or what are some healthy things?
So I tell parents this in my office, I could give you coping skills from A to like multiple Z's. Like there's so many things out there. The reality is you have to know the person to be able to know what skill will help. And they need more than one skill. So, you think back to elementary school or like basic middle school. Okay, take a deep breath. Count to 10. I don't know anyone who's ever found counting to 10. Like I had a kid say, what if I'm still mad at 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't always help,
Right.
And so it's knowing, and I think that's where therapy can come into play, of knowing who the child is and being able to guide them on, these are things you might try, but then they have to try them and give you feedback. It's really a back and forth. How can we tailor things to help you? But ultimately, they know what works for them.
Yeah.
And so exploring on past successes. Have you ever felt this way before? What helped? What did you do to get out of it? Because guess what? You may have felt this way before, and you may have solved it without realizing you did. You may have worked through it. And so using them as they are their own expert and have them help you solve it. So I would love to tell parents there's like, do these 10 things and everything's great. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. But giving them a toolbox, because if this doesn't work, let's try this. Because with different situations, you might need to pull a different skill.
Right.
You know.
Right. And you have to find things, I love the fidget era when those spinny fidgets were in and all those things, that sometimes things like fidgets work for people, or girls can take a hairband and stretch that and just get the anxiety out in their fingers. I know I started this a long time ago. I will press my cuticles, like press. And I'll do that as a way to, or squeeze my fingers, give my fingers deep pressure. So you don't necessarily have to have a fidget, but you can do things with your hands or your legs,
Deep
or your
pressure.
Deep pressure.
You know, I will like grab my leg.
Yeah.
And it doesn't distract anyone else.
Right.
You know, it's just something within myself for just squeezing. I mean, there's so many things.
Some girls twirl their hair, or guys do different things. Tapping a pencil is a little annoying, but
it could drive everyone else crazy. It might induce someone else's anxiety.
And oddly enough, I know it depends on the school you go to, whether you're allowed to chew gum or not, or have something in your mouth like a mint. Oral things help, feeling things. Those are all good strategies. Breathing, good coping. So when these coping strategies aren't working, then what?
I think it's helpful to really get your child with someone who can help.
A professional.
A professional. And just a place where they can maybe process it. Because sometimes what I find is processing what's causing that helps them cope more. And they may not feel comfortable sharing that with mom and dad, and not because mom and dad have done anything wrong, but just, I don't want to stress my parent out. Like that becomes a stress for them, the thought of stressing their parent out.
Yeah.
I think so many times our kids love us so much, they just don't want to add to our plate. They know we're busy. And so then that becomes a stressor. So it's not bad when you need someone else to help your child.
Yeah.
It's really just one more player on the team. Like if your child is a team, you want a lot of players to help support your child.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, and that's important.
And, a lot of times teens will resist or push back and go, I don't need to talk to anyone. I don't need to do that. So that's where having that connection with them helps. And it also helps that if they're just pushing back so hard to say, hey, it's not an option.
Right.
I'm going to drive you, and our reward is we'll get lunch afterwards, or we'll do something, afterwards. But it's not an option to say no.
And more times than not, I just looking back at my own career, more kids like it than hate it.
Yeah, they do.
And I think if one child in particular came into my office, she goes, I don't like you. I don't like therapy, and I'm not doing it. I will never talk to you. And I was like, okay. And for me, that's like challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I
Game
like this
on.
kid.
Game
I love
on.
this kid, And fast forward 9 years, and I have provided treatment off and on. We've done some episodic care of treatment as she's needed it. And she chooses to come to therapy.
Yeah, that's great.
And now we laugh about, oh, remember when you were, I don't like you. And she's like, I'm so sorry, I was rude. I was like, dude, you were being honest.
Yeah.
You didn't like the thought of what therapy could do. And now you love it, and you see it as a resource.
So how many sessions would you say to give it a shot? Like if the teen just is angsty, not wanting to go, how many sessions before maybe this isn't the right fit? What would you say?
Say 3 to 5. We typically in our practice spend rapport building. Rapport building is honestly a lifelong thing. Let's be
Yes.
honest, because they're changing, so rapport changes. But we really focus on rapport building in those first initial sessions. So I tell parents, if you can try 3 to 5, and I'll even tell kids, I'm like, give me 3 to 5 sessions. If you still hate me, you can tell me. I'm not going to be offended because you're not the first kid or the last.
Right.
Who will be like, you're not for me.
And there's somebody else for you to try that will be the right fit. Yeah.
And
so that's so important, parents, to know that it's okay. You know, give it 3 to 5, assume it's going to work.
Right.
But then if it doesn't, try someone else. Don't give up on it. Don't say, okay, you don't have to go.
Right.
Just find someone that does work. Find the right fit. Yeah, that's good. Well, when parents are struggling with their child who is experiencing anxiety, repeat again the message you would want to give them. Like, what can they walk away from this podcast with?
Just listen. Listen to them, and don't be afraid to ask the questions, but also take care of yourself too in the process.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. It's hard on parents.
Causes anxiety in us as
It
parents
does.
because we don't like to see our
It
kids
does.
struggle.
And so listen to them, but also rely on other helps and take care of you.
Yeah. So anxiety is really common. It's treatable. And it is not a reflection of your parenting. It's not a reflection of you. It's really just how your child is experiencing the world they're in right now. And it takes support and understanding, and really the right tools can make all the difference. So I love that Heather has the wisdom to share with us, that we're sitting down talking to her today. And guess what? It's not over. There's one more episode that we're going to do. And this is an even tougher talk. We're going to dive into depression and suicidal thoughts and what parents should never, ever ignore. So come back and listen again for the third time. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to Help, I Have Kids. If you're tuning into this podcast, that means you're a mom who's curious, committed, and ready to learn. And we see you. We'd love for you to join our Help, I Have Kids Facebook community, where moms just like you are connecting, asking questions, and encouraging each other every day. It's a space for real conversations, expert insight, and support from moms who get it, because we're all in this together. And if you know a mom who's feeling unsure or maybe overwhelmed, or just needs to be reminded that she can do it, she can advocate for her child with confidence, share this episode with her. We're building a village here, and we're glad you're a part of it.